Hi guys, we're going to learn how to make muffins today. They're pretty easy. The trick to muffins is to not beat them. You want to just barely mix everything in, and I've got the recipe on my phone here, so hopefully it doesn't turn off. Muffins are kind of odd in that normally you mix the dries, you mix the wets, and then you mix them all together. But this one here, you're going to mix the wets first. So we're going to start with 1 egg, and we're going to give it a good beat. I have my little handy dandy whisk here. So we're going to beat that egg really, really nicely. And you want to make sure that you don't see any white streaks on there because it's going to make it harder to incorporate into the rest of the flour. And it's a little grainy there. You can see the little tail that came off there. So when you pull it off, you want to have just a real quick drip of water there, or a quick drip of egg. Now the next thing it calls for is a 1/2 cup of milk and a 1/4 cup of salad oil. All I had today was my big, huge 4-cup mixer, and it doesn't have a 1/4 cup mixed on here. So what I did was I put my 1/2 cup of milk in there, and then I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put this down here, and I'm going to very, very carefully pour in enough salad oil to make 3/4, because 1/2 and 1/4 equals 3/4. And I got to find the right size here that mixes it. Okay, I've got my 1/2. I got my 1 cup, and there's my 3/4 line. It's not very clear. It's actually not marked. It's just a little line, but I know it's 3/4. So I've got that all mixed in there. And now we can pour this into the egg mix. And I want to make sure I get every drop, because if I miss some of the liquid in there, well, I might have dry muffins, and that would be a sad thing. Okay, so now I'm going to just blend that all together. We want this all incorporated before we put the liquids, the dries in. And now I've got that there, all nicely mixed. The next thing I'm going to put is 1½ cups of flour and 1½ cup of sugar. But I'm going to make sure that I use my cup, because I'm going to use the 1/2 cup all the time, so I don't have to do extra dishes. I'm going to put my cup in the sugar container first, because the sugar will not contaminate the flour. But remember, we talked about gluten. If I were to dip this into the flour and then put my cup measure into the sugar, I would have contaminated all of my sugar with gluten, and then I'd forget, and don't want to put gluten in anybody's body if they don't want it. So I'm going to use my 1/2 cup of sugar first, and then I'm going to stir my flour, as always. And then, since I've only got a 1/2 cup and it says 1 1/2 cups, I need to do this 3 times. So there's 1/2 plus another 1/2 equals a whole, plus another 1/2 equals my 1 cup. Got that in there, easy breezy, lemon squeezy. I now need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And you don't have to stir the baking powder like you do the flour, but it's not a bad idea to do so. And then, since I don't have a leveler there, I'm just going to use the edge of that lid. I'm going to throw that baking powder there. And I don't want to clump it. I sort of want to sprinkle it over everything, because I'm not going to mix this very long, and I don't want any baking powder bites. Need a 1/2 cup of salt. I'm sorry, did I say 1/2 cup? Ooh, bad me. 1/2 teaspoon. And remember, guys, when we made some other stuff, if you mess up on the size of salt, you really make it bad. So make sure it says a 1/2 teaspoon. You'll notice mine's a 1/2 teaspoon. It says so right on the handle. And again, I want to sprinkle it over everything, because I'm not going to blend this very much. Now I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to take my little itty bitty whisk, and I'm going to just sort of stir the dry. I'm not putting the whisk in here very deeply. I'm just sort of mixing up the dries, so that I can get that equal distribution of salt and baking soda, or baking powder. And then, seriously, you just take your spoon and you go mixity, mixity, mix. You can do this with a whisk, but since the dough gets thick, it sticks in the pieces of the whisk, and it doesn't come out very well. So you're actually better off using a spoon or a spatula. And I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl here to make sure that my flour goes into my muffins and not into my dishwasher. And then, as you can see, my dough is shaggy. We've discussed shaggy. It's got little lumps and bumps on there. And I don't want to mix it too much. I don't actually want a smooth dough. This is fine because all the flour is wet. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to put in my chocolate chips, which I would love to do if I actually had chocolate chips. So since I don't have chocolate chips, I'm using butterscotch. And I've never made butterscotch brownies before. I'll let you know if they taste any good. And I just need about a 1/4 cup of these. And I'm going to eyeball my 1/2 cup here and put about half of them in there. I'm going to throw them in there. Now remember, I did not put these in there until after my dough was mostly mixed, because if you put the chips in there before you mix the dough, you won't ever tell if the dough is mixed because, well, the chips make lumps. Okay, so I've got those mixed, and again, I'm not going to over stir. I do want to clean the sides. I'm not stirring, I'm cleaning the sides, and then I'm going to check the bottom to make sure I don't have any flour clumps. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ingredients into my pan, which I've already sprayed with cooking spray. But when I sprayed it, it oversprayed on all of the pieces that don't go into the cup wells. So what I did was I took a paper towel and wiped it off, simply so that when it goes in the oven, it doesn't make such a mess. And then I'm just going to use this here, and I'm going to just use the same spoon I used and just sort of slide it off in there. Don't be alarmed, guys. My house isn't burning down. That's my oven telling you it's heating to temperature. The oven is at 400. You want to cook muffins very quickly. They're small, and you want to heat them quickly to get that nice crisp outside. So it's going to be 400. Now I got these dark pans. So what do you do when you got a dark pan? That's right. You drop it down to 25 degrees less. So my oven should be at 375 so I don't burn my muffins. Now, if I did this right, I should have enough dough for 12 muffins. And you don't want to fill the muffins more than half full. Remember, they got 2 teaspoons of baking powder in here. They're going to rise a lot. And sometimes you make a little mess, get a little dough on the side there. Just use your fingers and squish it off. Doesn't hurt anything. And I didn't quite get my 12 muffins. So I have a choice I need to make. Do I want 11 tiny, puny muffins that don't look that great, or I'm sorry, 12 tiny puny muffins that don't look that great, or do I want 11 perfect muffins? And I'm going to go for 11 perfect muffins. So I'm going to look for the muffins that don't have quite enough dough, and I want to sort of balance my dough out here. I love how the professional chefs do it on TV because they've got this down to a science. I mean, I've made that recipe 100 times, and they know exactly how full to put the cups. But I don't do muffins very often. So we're going to do that here. That one looks a little bit low. We're going to balance that. And again, you don't want to ever put them more than half full because the muffins are going to rise. And that's it. We're ready to go. I mean, seriously, how long did that take? And I don't know if I'm going to show you a picture of the finished product because I got to get to work. See you guys. Bye.